Hi everyone, it's Raina. This video is for Aries love for October 2018. This is a tarot reading for the sun sign of Aries. And yeah, so I'm just shuffling the cards. This is the Morgan Greer deck that I normally use. And, oh, I like to see that card. I always associate that with Aries. I think it's Gemini though. Here we have two major arcana cards. Okay, both are coming out. I'm going to keep them. And we got two tens. End of a cycle. Ooh, the Chariot in the reversed position. Wow. Whoa, you have so many major arcana cards. Isn't that something? Well, it sounds like change is in the air. And believe me, it's interesting, Aries, because I haven't always gotten that with all of the signs this month. It was almost kind of like a lot of stuff they've already been dealing with. So for some of you, this could be the start of a whole new attitude when it comes to relationships. And you're coming into the month of October with a full moon in your sign, which can always indicate like ushering an ending. So that, and also when you have a full moon, the sun is in the seventh house. So in your sign, then the sun is in the seventh house. So that could also highlight your needs within a relationship, and maybe after seeing that thing, whatever it is, that kind of like makes you question the relationship, you make a decision to leave, or at least to wrap your brain around the idea of it. So we have as the central piece here the Magician card, which relates to self-empowerment. The Magician has everything he needs to do what he needs to do. He doesn't need any outside assistance. This is about self-reliance, okay? Initiating something, creating your own magic. The 8 is really the infinity symbol, and it's a symbol of, well, you know, it's funny. The 8th card in the major arcana is a strength card. So if you want to look at it that way, you can too. Let's look at the foundation cards. We have the Temperance, which is connected to Sagittarius. Also the Temperance card, 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on land. The mixture of spiritual and the material. So being very balanced that way, of seeing your relationship situation in a practical way, but also in a spiritual way. Not being too emphasizing, you know, not emphasizing one area too much. And that's helpful to make good decisions because you're taking everything into account. And then the other card that came out was the 3 of Wands, which is a fire energy. I think it is associated with Aries, not 100% on that, but it is about this growth that you want to have. It's like you're not satisfied with whatever it is that you're involved with now. And you may feel stifled in your life. Aries is a sign that is associated with an adventurer. And the 3 of Wands to me is like an adventure. It could be like traveling, going somewhere far away. Sometimes it can be for your career matters. Another train. I mean, this is really freaking loud. You'd think I'd live right next to the train. I live pretty close, but not that close. So the card that challenges this is the Hierophant card. For some people, even an Aries person that I associate with so much independence and somebody who's a mavericky maverick and very, very much not afraid to stand on your own 2 feet, very independent, and very like you know, very bold, not somebody who is kind of afraid of upsetting the apple cart. But even some of you may have been conditioned in a certain religion, because the Hierophant can connect to religion, or just social mores, the kind of influences around you that say you have to honor the marriage, you have to do this, you have to do that. And you may be feeling, it might not even be that you're incompatible with a partner in terms of like that you're always fighting. It could just be that you feel a sense of limitation within that circumstance. Now, obviously, some of you may be single and just wanting to maybe relocate for other reasons. Sometimes maybe there's like a Sagittarius person who you want to relocate for, again, because Venus goes retrograde in the month of October. Somebody from your past can pop up, and maybe they contact you, you find out about them and contact them, and get the ball rolling, and you realize that that person is more like you, is more adventurous, is more forward looking. This is like two signs. It was perfectly quiet until I pressed record. That's what you have to know. I did not anticipate this, but you never know. So until I move into the middle of nowhere, this is something that I'm going to have to deal with from time to time, so I apologize for that. So this might be somebody that you've already been in a relationship with in the past that you have never forgotten, and that's really cool. Now, the higher message is the Ten of Wands, and this is a card the person is really hunched over. They're carrying all these wands. This is about overwork and accepting responsibility for something that isn't yours. So in one sense, we could say that if you are coming from a place where people look down on people for abandoning their marriages or for going against tradition in some way, and that could be like, let's say you're somebody who is already like past the age of 30, and you don't want to be married right now, and you come from a family environment where you're supposed to get married by a certain time, or they're waiting for their grandchildren and you don't want to have it. There's a lot of independent energy here. So I'm respectful of other people's cultures, but I also think culture is a very oppressive thing. And that includes my culture, American culture, whatever that stands for. It's oppressive when it tries to, dictate to us how we're supposed to behave. We're all sovereign souls. We're independent souls. Sometimes we don't resonate with the culture that we're born into, or the country's culture that we're born into. So I am very much against other people dictating to you who you should marry, when you should marry, and all that stuff. When you should, if and when you should have children. That's nobody else's business. And even I'm talking about even family. Obviously, that's just my opinion. And if it works for you, then if you like that aspect of if your culture is kind of like more where the parents are involved in it, that's perfectly fine as long as you're okay with it. But according to this reading, with the Hierophant in the challenge position, you may be feeling like you are butting up against somebody else's values that you don't necessarily share. And it could just be like an age gap, a generation gap, where one generation believed one thing about these traditions, and now it's different. And a perfect example is if you want to live with somebody and not marry them, and you're dealing with a family that is very traditional, and they think that's wrong. Well, that's their choice. They can think it's wrong, but you have to decide whether or not you're going to be pressured into conforming to that thing, to their views. And the Ten of Wands is about taking responsibility maybe for other people's feelings. And you're not responsible for their feelings. And you don't have to live by somebody else's dictates if you're a legal adult. If somehow you are financially dependent upon them, then that's a different story, because they kind of control the purse strings, don't they? So they can, in a way, they kind of own you. So that's something that you need to get out from under if that's what's happening. If you're living under their roof, if you're maybe in college and you're taking money from them, you have to figure out a way to become more autonomous. And that's what the Magician card is all about. Maybe you're thinking about those things. But it could simply be that you want to live your own life on your own terms. And whether you're single, whether you're married, and you feel like you're, confronting somebody else's belief system. This could be your spouse. Maybe, you are somebody who wants to move someplace far away, and your spouse wants to stay there, and they expect you to follow them there because they think that they are the final say in the marriage or the partnership. The practical outlook, kind of looking at this from a grounded perspective, is the Ten of Swords, betrayal. So maybe this is some kind of a thing where you have felt that the marriage isn't working and want out because of that, but maybe there's been blowback about even suggesting that. That's one of the reasons why I feel, and this is my opinion again, that it's better to just do what you're going to do and talk about it later with people rather than running it past people. Unless you have somebody in your life who you feel is very fair-minded and objective and is not, and has solid, guidance and sensible advice. But if you're just somebody who has a tendency to talk about all of your problems with everyone, and you're always getting other people giving you their opinion, well, you kind of brought that on yourself because you allowed other people to put in their 2 cents. And the problem is that everyone has a different view. They have their own reality. And that's why it only has limited value. What is good for even your best friend might not be good for you. And I understand some people want to just vent and things like that, but it can open yourself up for opinions that you're not really interested in, that just end up irritating you even more, creating more conflict. In this particular scenario, someone may have really betrayed you, and yet perhaps maybe this is your conditioning has led you to believe, I have to stay, but you really do want your freedom. What's coming in is represented by the Chariot in reverse. This is a feeling of being out of control. This can be if you're with somebody who's a Cancer individual and they're acting out. Maybe this is the person you're with. That could be talking about it. Even as much as if they have some kind of issue, like a mood disorder where they sometimes lose it and they become very, especially if you've told them that you want out, and they become very belligerent, or in a Cancer person's case, very just emotional and maybe trying to be manipulative. Who knows? This issue of temperance could even be like a problem with drinking. You see she's got the cups, but remember the Temperance Society. So addiction, we can say in general, but perhaps this person falls off the wagon, and that may be a cycle for them where they are binge alcoholic, and that might be trying to medicate for a mood disorder. Who knows? But the point is, you get sucked into this. Even an Aries person can become an enabler, a codependent, because Aries is a very generous sign, and you do like to be there for people. I was going to say help them. You like to help people, but you like to do things. You know, it's not so much about just sitting and talking about problems. It's like you want solutions. And so you're willing to go places, maybe go to meetings with somebody if they need help. But sometimes those people may not, you know, they need to do things for themselves. And that's what the Ten of Wands is all about. Maybe you're doing something for somebody else that they need to do for themselves. The outcome is the Sun card, which is probably the most positive card in the deck. This is a card of healing, of love. I mentioned before about maybe traveling to meet somebody, maybe a Sagittarius. This card is connected to Leo, so that's another fire sign, you know, that you may be seeing. By the way, with the Chariot in the reverse position, you may have car trouble, or your car, you know, like even there may be, I think, like Mars, I don't know if Mars is coming out of its shadow until early October. I mean, it might be sometime in September, but Mars, when Mars retrogrades, it can lead to problems with automobiles. So I'm recording this in the early part of September, where there may be, where Mars is direct, but it's in the shadow period still. So I don't know how long that's going to go on. I believe it goes until early October, but I'm not 100% on that. But in any case, this may be like this reading that I'm doing now, because I'm doing it in the September period. Maybe these things, some of these things will be past experiences, but you may have some kind of like delay with travel that you have wanted to do, but ultimately you end up maybe connecting with a love. So it's like all's well that ends well. There's a lot going on in this reading. Obviously, I don't think that it's just all within a 30-day period, but it's just meant to kind of give an overview of what your love situation may be like. And again, it's general for every Aries person. So some people may resonate, some people may not. If you'd like a private reading where I'm using your natal chart, astrological information, which is your exact date of birth, your exact time of birth, and that's the predominant part of the reading, love reading. I will link to my website. I wish you an amazing month, Aries. It looks like it's going to be jam-packed. Bye.